Hey, hello, my friend. If you're an artist and you feel right now like you're swimming against the art world, or you feel like an outsider of the art world because maybe you didn't go to art school, or you are a self-taught artist, or you live far away from a city, or you don't have the connections that other artists seem to have, and you feel like an outsider, well, my friend, in this video, we're going to explore the art world and how you can find still your own niche and make your own art world.
Resources, inspiring interviews, business practices, and practical advice to take your art career to the next level. Join Sergio Gomez in today's Artist Next Level and get ready to take control of your career.
Well, hello, my friend. Welcome to the channel. Super happy that you're here. Let's talk about the art world because sometimes it feels mysterious. I remembered, when I started my own art career, not knowing exactly how to get in the art world. I went to visit galleries, museums, art fairs, and I was wondering, I wonder how I can get in because I didn't know how to do it. And so in this video, I want to kind of give you some tools, some ways in which you can also break into the art world, build your own art world, as I will explain in a second, and also explore the dynamics of the art world. Because sometimes it feels like there are some gatekeepers in the art world that you cannot walk past them. So let's talk about some of those gatekeepers, and let's talk about also, what alternatives do we have? Now, in full transparency, if you do not know me, if this is your first time in my channel, I'm an artist myself. I went to art school. I own an art gallery that I started 20 years ago, 33 Contemporary Gallery. I'm also a curator. I have curated shows internationally, over 100 of them now. And I'm also founder of the Art Next Level program, which is a coaching program for artists. So I say this because I'm going to bring all that knowledge that I have gathered over the last 30 years or so into this conversation, right? Because the gatekeepers do change over time. The way the art world works, it changes over time as well. And I have worked with artists at all levels, artists who are emerging, to artists who are mid-career, to artists who are well-established over the last, 20 years or so. And over the last 10 years that I've been coaching artists specifically, and I have seen everything on how to break into the art world, how to get out of the art world, how to build your own art world, etc. So this video is going to be very helpful for you. Let's start talking about the gatekeepers specifically. So who are the gatekeepers in the art world? Well, there are many gatekeepers in many ways. And when you think about this, perhaps it all starts in art school. I remember I went to art school. I have a Master of Fine Arts. My major was painting and drawing. I've also loved technology and design, so I did also a minor in graphic design. But I remember very well, as I was getting out of school, how, also as I was observing and learning about the art world, because you are moving along with other fellow students in your class, that you make friends with. Obviously, when you get out of school, you're going to reach out to your own friends for opportunities, right? So, if one of my friends was having a show and he or she knew that I would probably be a good fit for that show, he or she would invite me, and vice versa. If I found an opportunity, or if I knew a curator who I had met, I would, of course, introduce my friends to that curator. So that in itself started to create a bubble of people. And I saw that also happening in many of the other art schools, where perhaps also curators who were graduating from certain schools, particularly elite schools, would also tend to bring into some other shows, other artists that they saw in also their elite group, right? So there was there were these bubbles of people who were often associated with the schools they graduated from. They invited each other to shows, introduced each other to people, and just like in every industry, you create networks, right? This is a normal thing because we are human beings, and as human beings, we connect with our other human beings by default, right? This is not something that you're like, oh, I'm going to invite my friend to the show. This is just nature. You hang around the people that you know, and you bring along the people that you trust and that you work with, because they know they think similarly to you. So in many ways, this we have seen this in the art world, right, where there are these circles that are created around specific art schools, particularly the top art schools in the country, as well. Now, I'm not saying that everybody's like that. I'm just kind of giving you a general overview. Of course, there are amazing curators and artists who come from those schools too, who also engage and invite others from who are perceived as to be outsiders, right? And I think that is happening now more than before when I went to art school some 20 years ago when I had black hair. So, things have begun to change a little bit more now, and we are in a more open environment as to when I went to art school. But again, that's one kind of gatekeeping, right? That is in the educational system. Then you add another one. So let's go talk to a few of them. Then you have also those who teach, the academics. And I taught art also for 13 years or so. And so you have also the academics, academia, right? And the academics also make choices for who they write about, who they invite to shows, who they also have projects with, etc. And they also, academics also connect with others in the academic world and also make choices. And yes, these artists are good, these ones are not good, etc. Right? Again, it's human nature. We all work with each other and with people that we find a connection with. So that in itself creates another kind of gatekeeping within the art world. You have also those who are in the news outlets, right? The media also as well. I remember, when I started my gallery 20 years ago, and me trying to find somebody to write about our shows and to write about our exhibitions and the artists that we were presenting and the projects. It was very hard because we were new. It seemed like, the people who were writing only wrote about the artists that they knew or the circles that they were invited to, etc. So it was really hard to break in. It took some time, and eventually, we were written about and visited by also critics and writers, but in the media. But it takes time to sometimes breaking those things, right? Because again, that becomes almost another gatekeeping within the art world. Then you have the gallery system, right? The galleries is another way of gatekeeping, right? Of saying, okay, these artists are embedded into the gallery, these ones are not. And unfortunately, we live in a world where there are not enough galleries for the number of artists who are out here in the world. The reality is that there's a lot of us and there's not enough galleries. And there are amazing, amazing artists all over the world, spread out throughout the world, that don't have a gallery, and they should have a gallery, but they don't, simply because there are not enough galleries. And I'm telling you, I have a gallery. I wish I had more space. I wish I could do more for artists, but there are limitations, in what I can do, even myself and everyone who is involved in a gallery. So, that is another form of gatekeeping, where it is hard to get into a gallery. There's a lot of competition. Every artist wants to get in a gallery. I wouldn't say everyone, but most artists want to get in a gallery, and so it becomes super, super difficult to do so. And that feels, when you are entering as an emerging artist, feels like the gallery is a gatekeeping too, which also many times prevents you from getting into bigger shows in bigger museums or with biggest galleries, because galleries will tend to, again, promote specific artists who then they also promote with other galleries, with museums for exhibitions. So, and that scales up, from a small, a regional gallery to even to the top galleries in the world, who are the biggest gatekeepers, right? Where you can find, like in New York, the top, at any given time, the top 5 exhibitions come from artists who are represented by the top 3 or 4 galleries in the world, right? So again, that in itself is gatekeeping. It's a circle, it's a network, right? And, a random artist, it's very difficult, or if not impossible, to just, get into that circle. There are a number of gatekeeping, between that into that top gallery tier. So, those are, again, systems within the next system, right, that exists within the art world. So those are the gatekeepings that we look at as well. And of course, you have the art fairs, which is another system. You have also the museums, you also have foundations, you also have the collectors who they collect, who they, recommend to other collectors, who do they work with. You have art consultants, and collectors have such a big influence in what museums show and what museums add to their collections, right? Because big collectors often end up donating their choice of works to the museums, right? So again, there's all these different aspects that is very complicated within the art world that seems like everywhere I look, everywhere I go, there's a gatekeeping mechanism that doesn't allow me to walk in or to get into. And perhaps that's how you feel, and that's exactly what I'm doing this video. So now that we have talked about some of the gatekeepers in the art world that exist today in the world, let's talk about also kind of the interrupters that are in the system of today. When I went to art school, social media wasn't around. The only way for me to show my art to the public was pretty much I had to go through an art gallery, because art gallery had a system, right? The system of a place, a building where you would bring your art, they would open it to the public, and people in the community would come by, or people who were traveling and were in town, they would stop by. This is before the internet, before social media. And, that was the world. The only way to get attention, to get visibility, is through physical exhibitions, right? That was the only way. Now, then, when the internet came around, now galleries began to put websites. Artists all of a sudden had access to the same internet that the gatekeepers had. So now you have, you had then the website where artists began to, build their own websites, and all of a sudden almost like compete with those gatekeepers that at the moment, had all the attention. All of a sudden now artists could also share their whole portfolios online. And not only that, but those could be searched and found online just as galleries were. So that became a disruptor, in just about any industry when the internet came around. Then you have social media, another big disruptor, right? Social media came and really took everyone by storm. Everyone, doesn't matter what industry you were. And now all of a sudden, all of us, we have a microphone, right? We have a microphone, or could be a megaphone as well, in social media. So that's a big disruptor that now gave all of us, you and me and the artist next door, an opportunity to reach an audience that perhaps before we never had that opportunity. I certainly remember the day when we didn't have that opportunity. And now I have it, right? Now I have this microphone, which is an outlet to the world and gives distribution, and for free, meaning I don't have to pay, to play for it. I don't have to pay to show up to an audience. And that is something that came to completely disrupt the gatekeepers in the art world. And you see today that there are so many wonderful, amazing artists that are, considered almost outsiders, or being outside of the traditional art world as we know it. And they are doing amazing things and building amazing careers and creating wonderful art. And I'm super excited about that. I actually love that, because artists have that opportunity to be in control of their art career, right? So when I coach artists in my program, I talk about these things like, you are an artist in control. Now you can decide, do I want prices on my website? How many pieces do I want? How many collections do I want to put in? What do I want to make? How do I want to build my brand? How do I want to present myself to the world? How do I want to be attracting to collectors? What kind of a business structure am I going to create for my art, for people to buy my work? You have a lot more choices that before we didn't have. Now, as you have more choices, that also comes with more steps to be able to manage and understand those choices so that we can be effective. Because sometimes too many choices is paralyzing. It's like when you go to the buffet. You walk into the buffet, you see like these rows of dishes, like you don't know where to start. Like, I don't know, I'll grab a little bit of everything, and at the end, I'm super full, I don't feel well, because I went to the buffet, right? Sometimes too many choices makes us paralyzed, makes us just overwhelmed and not very productive. So that's, I think, what happens to many artists right now who are coming into the system, who are maybe transitioning from a 9 to 5 from a day job into an art career. We're like, I don't know where to go, Sergio. And I coach a lot of artists who are in that space. I said, Sergio, I want to know what's my next step. Where should I go next? What makes sense for me so I can eventually transition from my 9 to 5 into an art career and enter, into the art world. And I always love to encourage artists, and I want to encourage you as well as you're watching this video, that the art world, which seems like it's far away and is this big thing full of gatekeepers and players and things like that, because we watch that we see that on magazines, we see that on the news, we see it on our feed on social media. Remember that at the end of the day, it's all about connections for all of us, no matter what industry you're in, particularly in art. It's all about connections, right? So I always tell artists, what you gotta do is you gotta focus, don't worry about the art world. The art world is the art world. It's always gonna be there. Focus on building your own art world. Yes, your very own art world. How do I do that? Well, the way you build your own art world is by surrounding yourself with the people you are connecting with day by day. That means being organized on how you do that. How you build your art world. Let's say you apply for a show, either a local show or an online show or a show that's far away in another place, and you apply, and let's say you get in the show, right? And by the way, we all get rejections at all levels, from emerging to established, so don't get bummed when you get a rejection, when you don't get in a show. Happens to me, happens to you, happens to everybody. Or when you're applying for a grant and you don't get it. Yeah, it sucks. However, it is kind of what it takes, right? So again, going back to my example, let's say you get into a show. So what you want to do is you want to send an email to the juror or the curator, the person who accepted you in the show, the gallery, and say, hey, I'm so thankful, for selecting my work. I'm very happy, super enthusiastic. I'm gonna share it in my social media. Let me know how can I be of help. So now you add that person who selected you or the gallery contact into your list of networks. And that's how you start building your network, right? And you don't just disappear forever once the show is over. Once in a while, reach out to the gallery or that curator or that collector. Hey, I was in your show last year. I'm just gonna give you an update. This is what I'm doing now, and here's a link, so that you can keep people up to date on what you are doing with your art. So, and that's how you build, your own network, right? Your own art world. And at the end of the day, what's beautiful about, all the tools that we have to connect with each other through social media, through the web, through personal relationships, is that you start building that beautiful network around you. Now you may say, well, Sergio, but I'm far away. I'm on a secluded place, like, on a rural area. It's hard for me. Well, you have social media. You have, the internet. You have tools that you can use to connect with people, right? To start making also connections. And sometimes we're like, oh, but nobody reaches out to me. Well, then you reach out to them, right? We want everything and everyone to come and knock on our door. I found that many of the opportunities I have found is because I went and I knocked on the door, on somebody's door, and I didn't knock asking for things. Just, hi, I just want to know you. I admire what you do on social media, and I really appreciate your content. Thank you. That is a way to start making a connection. Don't be the artist who's like, hey, I know you are a collector, you're a curator. Here's a list of my 20 of my artworks. Let's make some business. No, that's horrible. I never replied to any of those messages. And probably no other collectors or curators or galleries do as well, because that's the wrong way to approach somebody who you admire and you want to start working with, because you start making a connection, right? So to wrap it up, in order to really enter into the art world, is start building your own mini art world, your own network. Before you know it, as you start participating in opportunities, connecting with people, doing your own things, organizing also your own things as an artist, you'll realize all of a sudden you turn around like, wow, I'm in the art world, right? Because I am an artist in the world, making art and bringing it out into the world, right? So I'm building my own art world, an extension of this big art world that exists. And it will happen before you know it, if you do things right and if you start following this advice. So I want to encourage you, my friend, if you feel as an outsider, maybe trying right now to transition, to think about the things I share with you, to not feel that way, remove that thought like I'm an outsider, and actually think the opposite. Think, well, I have something of value to bring to the table, right? Have something of value to bring to the world. And I'm going to start reaching out. I'm going to start participating in my own way, in my own community, slowly online too, and just being a person of value as well as an artist for what I have to offer. So I encourage you to do that. And if you're an artist in transition, who are right now, again, is stuck in a job or between a 9 to 5 or a day job, and you're really dreaming about being able to transition in a full art career or a full-time art career, or just starting that process, maybe you're at the start or maybe towards the end, trying to make that leap as I did and many others have as well. I have also a totally free webinar because I've been coaching a lot of artists on this. So I created this pretty cool webinar that can help you, see what are the 3 essential things every artist needs to make that transition, to pivot from your day job into an art career. And if you're an artist right now who would like to sign up for this, and if you're an artist, and if that's you, my friend, if you want to register for this free webinar, just go to theartistnextlevel.com/passion. Again, theartistnextlevel.com/passion, and that way you can register and attend my free webinar. It's about an hour presentation where I really, really talk about the things that I have learned as an artist that can probably also help you, make that leap and that transition to prepare for that. It's not easy. It's not simple, but it can be done. Tons of artists have done it. I have seen it with my own eyes. I have done it myself. I quit my job so that I could pursue my dream as an artist. So thank you for watching this video. If you have not, make sure to subscribe and do me a big favor, share it with your friends, because I know there are many other artists who need to listen and to hear this message right now.
Check out our website at www.theartistnextlevel.com, where you will find our podcast library, learn about our upcoming webinars, find resources relevant to your career, and much more. Thanks for listening to today's podcast, and we'll see you at the next level.